Okay, welcome to Summer Sprint. We have a draft review show for you. Lawrence is with us. Michael's with us. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
All right, we're just going to stop this. I'm going to go over here and share the whole screen. Okay, we should have whole screen now. I think. Here we go. Okay. All right, another fun one. I guess so many places potentially to start. Let's just start with your overall view of 1999 as you approached this draft. Mike Stuckey, please, what were your thoughts coming in?
Yeah, the offenses. I was not impressed with the offense in the card set in general, and obviously the St. Louis team had, I thought, the best offense in the league. So I was really the one card that stuck out was the Warner card. I know the picks were high, but I really wanted. I was really hoping I get a top pick to grab that unit. I wasn't able to do that, but yeah, that's the one. Those top quarterbacks, I think there was as you mentioned, a big leveling effect after the top tier, and I don't know. I'm a little nervous on how I'm going to try to score, but we'll have to see. I mean, we will score, but it seems like it could be a defensive league. I think in general, but we'll see.
Yeah, it seems that way to me. Lawrence, your thoughts coming into it?
Yeah, I initially was conflicted of wanting Warner or Falk, and I was going back and forth on it. But ultimately, I went with Falk because I thought he was least replaceable of any of the players. Because not only does he make you feel afraid to call all the time, is that he's also a really good guess right. So I feel like he's like a chance to keep moving the ball better, and plus then he has like a great pass catching out of the backfield. So I was
So were
thinking
you? I
kind of the
mean,
same way, but
you're.
I love
I
it when
mean,
you can have a running back that's effective guess right.
well, that's when you found out your pick. But go back up before you as
Huh?
you were analyzing it. If you were to end up 17 or something, what would have been what would have been your overall thought on
Oh,
this
right.
this set?
So going into my draft, I was hoping, regardless of what pick I had,
Hmm.
if I landed deeper, then I'd be really focusing on trying to get good on for sure at least pass defense, if not good on run.
Hmm. Hmm. Well,
So
yeah. I
deeper
mean,
down.
I generally agree with you guys. Maybe my approach is a little bit different, but that the offense was going to be tough to come by, and it felt like it's going to be hard to get first downs, and that felt that way not only because of running, but also because of passing. Um,
Right.
when you looked at the run cards, just the lack of short gains versus 1990, what we did last summer sprint and the lack of options. We had at least a half dozen good fullback options before you even got to the halfbacks in 1990 to move the ball on the ground. There, those Chicago fullbacks that Dennis Young used to get down the field, and one of the last ones chosen just weren't there quite as much in this set, and lack of short gains, lack of James Brooks's, lack of all the guys sort of like that. And then I think somewhere I have it over here. Yeah, I mean on the quarterback side, and here's a comparison to the set we just played in 2021. Less first, obviously a lot less flat pass, a lot more flat pass interceptions, a little bit less short pass, about the same long pass, but so many more interceptions, deep and short. When you compare that to 1990, the last summer sprint that we did, you saw the big drop really was in long pass right completions, and you could really feel that in the quarterbacks, right? You could feel there's no Jim Everett,
Right.
or any and all the guys like him. Any of those big long pass guys like you got, Jeff George, came with a huge price to pay,
Yeah. The
right?
picks are enormous.
Yes. Yes. So not only just these big numbers, but also when you get down to the Jeff George level or the Jeff Blake level, you're going to get a top 5 long passer. You're gonna pay a big price. So my thought was, okay, I want offense. Coming into this, I want to be able to know I can move the ball because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to stop people. And even if I can't stop them, they're going to stop themselves because of these ints. And lack of good running. I mean, it's always good to have a good defense. It always helps, but a lot of these offenses are just not going to be able to get out of their own way if you guess correctly. I mean, the power of defense is that you guess correctly. Yes, Michael.
Yeah, this league, I was playing fantasy football back in '99. It's very fresh in my mind because this was one of these seasons where I had Marshall Faulk as the number one pick, and he was just incredible. I mean, obviously MVP of the league. He could do it all. I think he had over 1,000 yards rushing, over 1,000 yards receiving. He was just insane, and the whole St. Louis offense was incredible. And that's the main thing that I took out of '99 when Dennis said it was '99. I mean, just the incredible season Falkov. Go back to the stats. See how many yards rushing he had. 1,300, 1,048 receiving. Yeah, it was just an incredible season by him, up and down the field, and with Warner throwing the ball around too. And that St. Louis defense was sneaky good too. Sneaky good against the run, things like that. I know we're not playing stock, but just that's the main thing I took out of this season. And what an incredible offensive season St. Louis had. I didn't realize the rest of the league was kind of down on the offense in general. Although I do remember that NFC Championship game, neither Tampa Bay or St. Louis could move the ball at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think the final score was 12-5 or 11-5,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And it got really defensive. Another thing was I didn't really feel there were a lot of there were going to be a lot of good defensive groups. When I looked at the chart, the combo chart, I was like, wow, this is kind of thin. I mean, it looks like you can get average pretty easily, but it didn't seem like they were overwhelming. I think it ended up being 8-7 on the groups on the good versus average,
So
maybe
you got
8-8, or
9,
9-7. Yeah, in that
9
range.
good run and 7. We're waiting for Joe here. I haven't even looked at Joe. I assume he's average. I don't know, but maybe
Right, I
average
don't know
good
either.
because of Tennessee. Average, so average run, good pass because he has Tennessee.
Pass, right.
So that might become 9-8.
Yeah, and you know what? Lately in these leagues, I've been having good luck with picking the drafting offense early, so I stuck with that plan. But I could see guys going either way.
Well, and on that first pick, we had Joe taking those Titan DBs. If you had first pick, Lawrence, who would you have taken? If Lawrence is still with us. Lawrence does not have the most reliable internet out there in paradise. Lawrence, are you with us?
Yeah, not the best. I probably would have taken Falk, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. You got him at 4.
Michael?
Yeah, I think I would have taken Warner. Or Falk would have been a consideration, definitely. But the drop off at QB just seems insane. I mean, I don't know how we're going to make 3rd and 10. I mean,
yeah,
you can be looking at 30% on 3rd and 10 or lower. Some of these QBs. I'm going to be.
10
I'm
is
very
very problematic. 3rd and 10 is very problematic. I agree.
Yeah.
Except for these top 3 guys. Except for
right.
St. Louis.
Although 1990, I must admit, I was my defense was really lit up in 1990. I had a lot of 4s, and they really got killed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe that'll happen again.
Well, I mean, so Warner was the first QB to go off the board. There he is. He's got a big fumble.
And the picks are high, especially
and he's got high picks. Pass. But guessed wrong, he's going to do a ton of damage. What is that guessed wrong percentage going to be? I mean, we'll talk about tight team sooner or later here with Eddie George. Is that enough of a home run threat, or is he looking at 80% plus guessed right passing? I'm going to guess he is. I think George is going to end up being the key. I don't think people are going to let Warner throw. He's going to have to pound, and earn. And he could earn them. He could easily earn them. Earn his guessed wrong calls for this card. But
yeah, I mean, looking at that card, right? Look at the short pass. I mean, yeah, if you guess run, The only two they're going to hurt is the eight of the 10. I mean, sorry, the eight of the not. Yeah, eight of the 10. That's the only difference. So it's
Yeah.
basically the same card. I mean,
Well,
yeah, you don't.
except here.
Right. Yeah. Then the picks. Right. So
Yeah.
those. So you got 5 and 5. So it's only 10 out of 36 that are different. I mean, granted, you don't want to be on your D card, receiver wrong all the time, but it's not a huge difference where like someone's getting twice as many completions on their card when it's wrong and right. Warner's good right, and I think you can shake in some run calls in there without a problem.
Well, if I had one, I would have gone Brad Johnson. He was my one. Expecting to get him with these assumptions here a good 0.2 some yards per play higher than Warner, and I'm guessing a lot of that comes from a fumble differential. Yeah, so expected yards lost on fumble, you got 50.15 yard of that gap. More than half that gap between Johnson and Warner's on the fumble.
Is it one?
As a what's that?
Is this fumble one? Is snap fumble or both?
So let's see. Snap fumble is
5.
1 compared to 5. Team fumble 3 versus 2, and then we got you just can never run Warner.
Right. Okay. All right. So you're weighting all those different things.
Yeah,
that's cool.
and then your must run percentage is going to come into it. Like so Warner's not getting penalized for his must runs too much because he's only must running 4.2% of the time. But when he does, it's going to be look out. I mean, you don't want to hit that must run. That's going to be guessed right. This is guessed wrong. That's going to be over a 60 fumble when he hits his must runs. But so he gave up a lot there. But to your guys' point, number 1 short pass. You see the rank there. Expected a 7.02, and number 3 in long pass. But you do have a problem here, flat. So, that's something to that your Brad Johnson is 13 in flat, 4 in short, 2nd in long. Just a much more balanced card at 3 levels. Here's Johnson's card, and then this is where I would have gone 1, and I was tempted to take him, of course. We'll talk about our individual picks in a minute, but there's Johnson's card. Okay.
Oh yeah, very nice. Yeah, picks a lot lower too. Yeah, that's a solid card.
Yep. And he, he has no yards there for the must runs, but it's on a 2.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't a big running QB.
Yep. Yeah, never was. So moving on from 1, and Joe ends up with Tennessee. Then we had Baltimore defensive line from Brian. That defensive line, I think I have an older version here of the ranks, yeah. Gave us 16 on 3-4, but a real separator here at 4-3 with 22 points. 22 points up front. So that was a pretty big difference. As I sort of looked at this defensive line 4-3, and you looked at this is looking at the top 20, okay, and the top 17. You had a 17% edge versus the average, top 17 4-3 defensive line here, okay, if you took Baltimore. So that was a pretty decisive advantage. But would that be enough for you, Michael, to go DL number 2?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I'm not that interested in stopping the run like that, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely the values there to make that selection for sure.
Yeah. Any thoughts
over other selections?
I don't like to grab a DL early unless it has like a great, like a Bosa in it or something. I would feel more comfortable grabbing a DL late in the first round and matching it up with something else. But I would almost never grab a DL that quickly.
For that Minnesota line last year, which had I think maybe even more points than this, maybe the same points as this, but a ton of pass rush, right? On that Minnesota 1990, talking that also was taken up at this level. Then we continued with defense. So we went first 5D. Willie went Jets linebackers, and a similar pick. Sorry, 4 out of 5 was D. Similar pick with Tampa linebackers. So these guys, we'll get back to your pick, Larry, in a second. But Willie and Aiden definitely made a choice for points over pass rush here. With the Jets 4-3, 17% above the average, and Tampa also 17% above the average in a 4-3. Did they both end up in 4-3-Ds? They didn't. Willie ends up in a 3-4. So I wonder how Willie would have ended up with Pittsburgh and getting more pass rush. Jets. This is not stuff that I've looked at, guys. So this is kind of new to me. So if you're going to go with 3-4, would you be better off with Pitt because you got a pass rush difference, a pretty big difference in pass rush. 30 for Pitt, 18 for the Jets. And maybe Willie's not going 3-4. I mean, he can go if he goes. He's good either way.
Oh, okay.
3-4 or 4-3, so he can choose where he wants. But what do you guys think of the high rating linebacker picks there? Any thoughts around them? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, linebacker is a key, on defense. So I think there's some decent flat QBs in this set also. So I think taking that away is good value at those picks. It also sets you up for the rest of the draft where you don't have to get nervous about taking a DL or a cornerback, DB group that quickly. It allows you to be more flexible. So I like the picks of the linebacker group if you get one of the stud groups like those two guys did.
Yeah, me too. But interestingly, they went defense, right? They both went defense.
Right.
On the
they wanted to secure.
Yeah, and secure good, and I think they both got it.
I know, Anthony. We were talking about it during the draft. Once the top offensive players seem to be off the board, I think everyone looking in rounds 2 and 3 were like, "Listen, there's no value at the offensive level here. Let's go D." It seems like coaches were taking that tact.
I would have, as you look back to the second round, I had Stephen Davis as my best back out there. I thought there was a lot of value right there, and if I'm these guys, I would have been looking seriously at that, and because he was kind of a separator, but there was a few. I thought there was a few good offensive gems, but you're right, there wasn't many, but there was a few. Everybody seemed to be intent on getting good this time around, and obviously I had a different view. I was going to be happy with good average, but they just seemed to be focused in on getting good, and getting these guys at the top was a good pathway to get there, and of course they got it. Lawrence, you gave us some of your thoughts around the first round pick of Falk. Anything else on the Falk pick?
No, I mean, if I had drafted later, I really liked your pick of Pittsburgh LBs. I like Mike was saying, I like really having a solid LB group as an anchor, and I would have taken your Pittsburgh if they had one more pass point, just for that flexibility, because then you'd feel pretty secure with it. But that pass rush is insane. So
I had Falk down a ways, and let's see why. I mean, these are just guides; they're not, you don't necessarily pick off of this. I think what it showed is that Falk was very good at everything, but not great at anything. So as I just sort of scroll through here, let's see here. All right, I think these numbers will probably tell the story best. This is their difference versus average. So Falk had a 83% better line buck wrong, than the average. So, I mean, that's his strongest suit. Out of all the suits, that's where he really stood out. Like you said, his guest right running too is very good, but there were some others that are better than him. And then everything else, everything else was pretty much where everybody else was, except he didn't. It disappointed me is he didn't block. He didn't go deep. So few guys went deep, and if you're going to get Falk, darn it, I want to go deep with Falk.
Yeah, I was surprised about that also, that he didn't go deep. Although he has that 50, he has a 53 and a 57, but yeah, they're flat and short.
Yeah, and he's a good blocker too. So what? I don't know if this set was just the one where he didn't get those two things that I wasn't a big player 95 to 05, but you guys tell me. I mean, I imagine he had good blocking most years, at least decent, and long pass catches most years.
Right. He's a zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want some of that out of my top 5 pick.
I guess the reason I valued him though too, because he was good guessed wrong and guessed right, is I feel like there's not that many running backs in the set that you have to worry about that you can't just call pass much more than you normally would. And I felt like Falk would be somebody that you're going to call run a little bit more than the other guys.
That line buck is money. I'm with you there. People are going to be fearing that line buck. Everything, the off tackle and end run, you have a lot of columns look like this. Even this plus 33 here on 10 or 4, right? A lot of guys have a similar OT wrong profile and OT right profile. His difference is right here, right there. Yeah, and oh, by the way, if you call him right, he's going to get some yards. It'd be nice if he had some keyed yards too. A lot of guys have keyed yards. He doesn't have them.
Right. Yeah, it's nice when you can run those backs all 3 different levels, you know.
Yes. Then Tyke goes with the St. Louis quarterback. I think a very important pick in the draft overall. This one right here. It was a real sort of turning point because it caused these two to go pretty quickly. Like when the top 3 quarterback thing was going to fall, they weren't going to last long. So he started that off. And I gave you my reasons why I would take Johnson here instead of Warner, but I mean they're still very, very close. And I think it's a solid pick. I think we'd all agree. I mean, I think you guys said he'd be right in the mix for you, number 1. He'd be in the mix for me, number 1 too. Though I would have taken Johnson, so Tyke gets some good value there at 6. But that left me the Pittsburgh linebackers, and my plan going in here was to get offense at the top, and I was like, well, shoot. I mean, this is going to let me take offense the rest of the draft. So I had to sort of swallow my pride, if you will, or my thought coming in. The thought coming in was going offense. I was like, well, not yet. You gotta hold your horses, because if I can get this Pitt team here, then I've got 2 6s at middle linebacker to cover run. I'm going to get good run, and I've got the highest linebacker pass rushing in the league. So I'm already sort of covered off in pass, covered off both ways. So that means I can go offense for quite a while till the cows come home, and I ended up doing that, of course, and we'll talk about our teams later. But that's why I sort of passed on Johnson and Manning here to be able to get offense in rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, as it happened. Thoughts on that? Brian goes Casey defensive back, second one off the board. Seemed to be the right time to me. As we looked at where am I going here? I'm going there. Looked at the group of 20 beneath Tennessee. You're just going to get a lot more combos with those 20 guys than you were with the non-20 guys. So it was about time for them. If you valued good pass defense, it was time for them to go. But you might say Brian had same dilemma as me. As you're going to pass on the 2 guys that can move the ball, very effectively. I think those top 3 quarterbacks were sort of in a class of their own, and he decides to pass on them just like I did. I understand why he didn't come back with offense, though. He built a good defense.
Right. Did you get good defense also?
Good average.
Oh, okay.
A good run and then average, which was the plan, because I'll take average with the Pittsburgh linebackers pass rush.
Right. Yeah, and the pass blocking doesn't seem to be nearly as good as it is in the current leagues, where you get a lot of 7s and 5s out there. The pass blocking is not as good, and there weren't many star pass rushers in this. Once in a while we'd find a 12-12, one of those type guys, but I think the highest guy I saw was a 12-6 that you got there at the linebacker position.
Yeah. So of all the linebackers, your asterisks. I mean, there was not many. There was a star 8 out there. I don't know that he went though. Did the Carolina linebackers go?
No, let me check.
Oh yeah, I misspoke earlier. Actually, my first pick overall was going to be Tennessee DBs if they were available,
Right.
because there was a slim chance that you could get an excellent pass defense, depending on how it played out.
Well, glad you raised that point because I mean that's and maybe that's what Joe was thinking, but I think you put a target on yourself. You know, if you got a chance for excellent and when it's so rare, I mean, meaning that I think guys are going to gun to make sure you don't get it, and you're
Right.
better off being under the radar screen, you know, than trying to go for something so flashy. And with especially with 34 picks or whatever it is ahead of you, 32 picks ahead of you, um,
Yeah.
that's a daunting challenge for somebody to want to knock you off that pedestal, right?
Yeah. Carolina did not get selected.
Okay. Yep. So the star 6 for Pittsburgh's left outside linebacker, the highest one out there, I think. I don't think anybody approached that on the D line. Giants linebackers have a 4 at right, and then let's just check the D line asterisks. 6 as well. Right end for Atlanta.
Arizona?
Sorry, Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think they got picked.
Arizona D line did not go.
Yeah. So yeah, there's not as many star pass rushers out there at all.
Sure. And it makes it a bit rare. And the off, I didn't check the pass block. I did look very closely at the pass block or the pass rush of the defensive ends and the nose tackles. I mean, one thing we saw was a lot of up the gut pass rush of the defensive lines that were taken. A couple nose tackle 12s, okay, out there that you know.
Yeah, you're right.
Lawrence,
We don't see that in the current game.
right.
You know, other than Aaron Donald, but especially at nose tackle, you don't have any of those.
Tampa, San Fran, New Orleans, that's Lawrence's. You got a 10 out of Jacksonville, they went, and then you got a 12 out of Denver. So sort of assigned higher priority to inside blocking than usual because of that. Anyway, continuing on, Bob and Nick take the 2 quarterbacks, and they're off the board. And there we start other than you, Michael, a very significant defensive run. I don't think there's any argument here for Bob and Nick's take. Just a surprise that Bob goes, offense. He's traditionally a defensive guy, right? Ron too. Ron goes defense, but those picks make an incredible amount of sense to me. At that point, Michael, San Francisco halfbacks.
Yeah, I have to admit I made a mistake here. I like the combination of Beasley and Garner. Garner was a big play back that year in general, and I thought I made the stupid mistake thinking I was gonna get both guys. I like them in combination. Garner can go deep. Beasley's a decent blocking back. And so I really drafted them for the flexibility and overall the both guys. I ended up getting them both. I had to take the tight ends for San Francisco to get Beasley. But yeah, I must admit I made a mistake. If I had to make this pick again, I probably would have waited on Garner. I don't know what I would have taken. Maybe gone for a D or something. But yeah, I'm a little embarrassed I made that type mistake. I'm always screwing up the fullbacks in this league, and I did it again. And it was really strange, the card set in general. Dennis and I were talking about it during the draft. Was there were a lot of teams that had like only two halfbacks, and maybe the second halfback you couldn't really run the ball with them. And so all of a sudden you got this one halfback and he's only got 20 carries or something, and then like what are you going to do? So it's almost like you had to pick a fullback that had some yards or some other position that could get you some carries. Yeah. And I am one of these coaches. They weren't going to be good
generally. I mean, they weren't going to be great, those carries.
Right.
I mean, they're going to be just fill the gaps. Go ahead.
I'm one of those guys that like a lot of carries, or at least have them in my back pocket if I ever need them. Yeah. And so I try to kind of go for that a little bit. But yeah, so I was a little embarrassed. I kind of screwed up that pick a little bit, but I stuck with the offense plan, and so that's what I go with.
Dave and Dennis go a linebacker, and more defense. DB, DL, DL. Overall in the first round, 12 on defense, 5 on offense.
Yeah, then coming back in the second round there, everybody went D, I think, to me. So I said, oh, I got to go. And then I'm looking at 22 picks between me and my third round pick. And I'm going, I have to go QB. I have no choice. There's no way I am waiting for QB. Then I'll be looking at Jacksonville, Denver, Chicago for QBs. And yeah, it came down to kind of Buffalo and Minnesota. And Buffalo has obviously the great interceptions, the 1 fumble rating, and really great flat passing. But really what put me over the top was when I saw the Randall Cunningham card. George has the great short pass and long pass. With all the picks, I'm going to be eating the picks this year, no doubt about it. But when I saw the Cunningham flat pass, that kind of said, you know what, his picks are even worse than George. But if I need a flat pass, I can get one. And so I decided to go with the 2-headed monster of Minnesota's QBs versus the Buffalo QB, which just really had the great flat passing card. I was really worried about Rob Johnson, the 3rd and long situation over 7. I think he can run for 7 yards on average. So it wouldn't be that bad.
The third and 10 is his kryptonite for sure. But I mean, I'll take that kryptonite myself.
Yeah.
I mean, of all the crap that's out there. So let's take a look at Cunningham's rankings here. And by the way, just take us through your team. Since we're through the first round here, we'll just take your team top to bottom, Michael, while we're here. While I'm pulling up Randall et al. We want to go here.
Yeah, so obviously the big thing with the QBs are the picks. Their percentage is very high.
Interesting combination, no doubt. So they're both highlighted here.
Right.
Flat pass rank for Randall is at 18 because of the picks. I mean, if you take picks out, I imagine it's going to rank much higher. And then you see George, short and long, 7th short, 4th long. So you can stretch the field. So how are you planning on using the 2 of them together? As we welcome Dennis.
Hi, Dennis.
Hey guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have to play it by ear. My early games, I'm really going to have to try to figure it out. George has lower picks overall, so I think I'm probably end up starting with him and then see what happens.
And then let's check him on the fumbles.
Yeah, he's got
10.
Randall
gives you a min.
Right.
George is 10. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 5 fumbles a year right there that I'll lose with a 10.
Yeah. Okay, continue. Your team.
Yeah, so after the second round, so I got my offense done, and then basically, I wanted to secure myself with average defense at least. I decided to go with the Miami linebackers at that point. It was a tough choice between Miami and San Diego. Those were the 2 options. San Diego had a 0-0-7 inside linebacker. So if I decided to go 3-4, I could use that 0-0-7 inside linebacker next to Junior Seau. No, I'm sorry. Next to the other middle linebacker, and I would have a decent pass rush. But I was pretty much open to playing 3-4 or 4-3 at that point. I could take either one. But I decided to go with Miami. They had a little better run D, I think it was, which gave me more flexibility. I could drop down to a lower run D if I needed it. So that was why I took Miami's run D. And then what did I take the next round?
We went after Miami. You've got Giants DBs, 57 overall.
Yeah, and then I was just really looking for a DB group. I think I got a 5-5-4-4 group. I grabbed them, and then after that, we're not on the main main
be up
screen here. Yeah, I need the top one.
Here you go.
Here it is. Yeah, Giants DB. Oh yeah, and then basically it got back to I didn't have enough carries, so I went with the San Francisco fullback. Get that group. I was mulling over a bunch of groups. Someone snagged a group in front of me. I wanted badly the KC fullbacks. I wanted that group, but Willie grabbed them before it got around to me.
First
I
overall,
mean,
Kansas City, 66.
yeah. I mean, I knew I was begging for something there. I mean, that's a long way to have to wait. But and a bunch of groups got taken anyway. I think Denver group got taken, Carolina, Buffalo, and then I grabbed the San Francisco group. So I got my carries out of the way, and my tight end is going to be average. And then I went with Jacksonville D line, couple different options there. I had the Seattle. I liked Seattle's D because they had a high run number and maybe 4-3. They had a 4-5-6-4 at D line, which was nice, but not much pass rush. But I decided to go with the Jacksonville D line. They had big pass rush. No, I'm going to go 3-4 also. They had big pass rush with nose tackle. I think he's got a 10, and the right end has an 11 pass rush. So we're going to go 3-4 with that.
Yeah, you're getting you got 24 pass rush from your line.
Yeah, in a
and
3-4
4 from your linebackers.
Right.
Yeah, in a 3-4.
Yeah, in a 3-4, which is pretty high. So we'll see on that. I'm going to be average again. I think I've been average for like the last 6 tournaments that I've been in, last 3 years in here. And then and then unbelievably, I picked a kicker in round 9, which is on par, and I got the 16th kicking group. Unbelievably. So it was the year to draft a kicker, and I missed the memo. So yeah, really not happy about the kicking group. Oh, the wide receiver group. It was down to Washington or Cincinnati for me, and Dennis was the only person that could pick a group ahead of me. And I'm looking at the Washington guys. They all have the really long gains on them, but not many completions. And I'm saying this is exactly what Dennis needs, and Dennis takes all the time, and he passed on him, thank God. So I got the Washington group, and Dennis ended up getting the Cincinnati group that was second on my list.
Yeah, that's
pretty lethal for a pass.
Yeah, no, but just gonna say that's because I looked at the kickers and punters and everybody that needed them, and I took the Green Bay kicker punters. So I got, like, I don't know, the 3rd or 4th on my list of that unit, and I wound up with a Cincinnati receiver. So it's like, would I rather have the 16th best kicker punter group and my favorite type of receiver group, or my second favorite receiver group and like the 5th, kicker group? So I don't know. I am gonna miss them though, especially when I guess wrong against you and they hit one of those long gains on a 5 flat pass or something like that.
And only one receiver group went after Washington before the turn, before it came back to you. I mean, so theoretically, you could have gotten Washington or Cincinnati here and got a better kicker. 2020, of course, in terms of hindsight. But just Indianapolis went for it.
Indy.
Who, for me or Arizona? For Michael?
For Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Michael, it seemed like you had a pretty, vanilla draft in terms you weren't doing any backflips. You weren't, you end up with kicker and special teams at the end, right? You didn't get any sort of twofers. You didn't get any of the special teams guys. That
I waited. I kind of regretted this a little bit. I waited on the O-line. I wanted the Jacksonville O-line. Let me see, 6th round. Okay. Yeah, I wanted the 6th round. I'm going right to left. So I wanted the Jacksonville O-line, and it was coming back to me, and I took the D-line instead. I think was it the Jacksonville D-line? Yeah, I took the Jacksonville D-line coming by, and I said, I'll wait the 22 picks, because Jacksonville was not like one of the top lines. And then Nick snagged him right away after I passed on him. That was the line I really wanted. I ended up with New Orleans. I'm fine with that. But I was kind of bummed out. I mean, There were a lot of O lines picked actually. Now looking at it,
Yeah, 5.
Yeah,
Yeah, 5,
there were
including
5.
Nick's, yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, I guess I kind of passed on it. Once I passed on, I was never going to get it.
Ends
Well,
up.
one thing that I don't think I heard you talk about, Michael, is that you initially thought, I mean, in your spreadsheet rankings, that the fullbacks went with a
Yeah.
halfback group.
Yeah, we
So I
discussed
don't know
that
if you
actually
did talk.
before you
Okay,
jumped
okay,
in. Yeah.
yeah. So that I think it's an interesting idea. Like, Anthony, is that something that we should consider? Like, make it walking back tight end, their own group, and add the fullbacks in with the halfbacks. What are your thoughts on that?
I really loved what 1990 was last time around, when you had those good fullbacks. You know,
I kind of like the
but-
reason why I broke it up like that is because it seems like that is the type of group that goes together. But
yeah, I like it the way it is, but I haven't thought about
what the implications are.
Yeah, I mean, the implications would be that there'd be fewer pathways to build a running game. It would increase the value of the halfback pretty significantly. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think that would just necessarily mean, all the halfback groups in 1990 would have flown off the board, because you'd have no way to build a running game.
Right.
If you're not going to be able to get, what's his name from West Virginia in the Cincinnati fullback group, right?
Like special teams, you could grab one in the kickoff return, punt return, maybe.
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
You're right. You can't grab one in the tight end group. It just feels like the older leagues. I'm not saying the current leagues. I think it works fine in the current leagues because we don't have the fullbacks the way we did back then. But in the older leagues, it feels like the halfback and the fullback are like kind of attached at the hip and they work together. You know what I mean? And you're getting all those carries. Like say O.J. Simpson and Braxton, those running backs, like they're together. You know what I mean? Like, one runs the ball more than the other, and they're kind of matched. And here we kind of break it up a little bit. With some of the fullbacks. Not all teams have fullbacks that ran the ball a lot in 1999, but the ones that do, the Robert Holcomb and the Falk. I mean, Holcomb got a rating that wasn't a fullback, so he is available with Falk, which was really nice. But I'm trying to think of some of the other running backs. It seemed like there were a lot.
This felt more modern. I mean, it wasn't completely like a 2021, but compared to 1990, you had Dorsey Levens, you had a couple. And even Dorsey has a bit, as you know, Dennis has a little bit of a fumble. He's got the best card known to man. Compared to some serious runners in 1990 in the fullback group,
Yeah, it's something maybe we should think about. But yeah, but you're right. The way it's worked for us in the past, and it would be really hard to break that train of thought to change it at this point. But
right.
So Dennis, why don't you take us through your squad?
Well, I did. When you draft at the end of the first round, what I'm always looking for in these leagues is a running back group that can make you guess run. And usually I find a good group there in the end of the first round that is like, okay, these guys are going to drive my offense. I didn't necessarily have that this time, and there was a lot of possibilities to get good if I start off with a defensive unit. So that's what I did. I took the Minnesota linebackers, which were 8 against the run, 8 against the pass. Now, they don't have the big pass rush like the other groups, but it kind of like guaranteed me that, okay, not guaranteed me, but it gave me options to take a 19 defensive line and a 19 DB unit, and I would still be good.
Right.
So that's the direction I went. Now, I have a lot more fun when I'm playing with a 3-4 defense with a lot of pass rush. But I'm going to have a lot of 5s and 6s in the front 7 this year. And that in this rule set, you can get away with standing around sometimes. You can pick up sacks with my defensive line. I got a strong defensive line too against some of the weaker offensive line. So I should still have fun sacking the quarterback, but it just won't be flying around with all my linebackers coming as usual. And I don't know what I did after that. Oh, I did have a couple of things that during the draft. So I did wind up taking the Jacksonville halfbacks or whatever in one of the second or third round. And then I almost screwed it up because when I had the when I had I locked down the good run defense, and
Mhm.
then when I was coming back, uh, there was only one group after that round 3 pick. There, I like watched all these DB units get taken off the board,
Mhm.
and I could have taken where I took um, the Jacksonville halfbacks. I think somewhere around there, I had a chance to take um, the Green Bay DBs. I think that would have locked me up, but I passed on them, thinking, "Oh, Jason, it doesn't matter if he gets 24 and be average or 25 and be average." So I said, "I'll just let it go and get it later," and he took them. So then I was boxed in. Like if any, there was about 6 or 7 coaches that needed a DB unit. If any of them would have taken Indy, um, that was the only one that matched up with the 5 cornerback out of the New York Jets special teams unit, Aaron Glenn. If anyone would have taken a DB unit after I took the New York Jets special teams unit, I would have been stuck with an average pass defense, and worse yet, I would have reached to get Aaron Glenn and basically wasted that 4th round pick. So, but everybody kept taking other units. I was like, I really thought Tyke was gonna,
Right. Yeah,
mess
he didn't
me up.
have a D. Right.
He didn't have anything on D, and there was still a way for him to get good pass defense if he would have taken if the Seattle linebackers fell to him and because he had Woodson, he could have gotten a 20 DB unit with the Seattle linebackers and gotten good defense, good pass defense still. But Ron luckily took the Seattle linebackers, and so that kind of made Tyke like go a different direction, I think. Otherwise, I think I would have lost out on good pass D. Anyway, overall, I think my team is going to be, fun to play on defense and not so much fun to play on offense because you get very, very late quarterback.
Well, it might be fun. I mean, it might be exciting. I mean, I wouldn't say. I think you're better off going with Blake for fun than you would if you took Horde.
So I talked to Anthony and Michael when I was coming up for my quarterback pick, and I kind of, Heward is the safe bet. He had a 1 snap fumble, very low picks, but I have never seen a long pass column for a starting quarterback be so barren. I mean, you're talking about 2 guessed wrong, 2 hits guessed wrong on a long pass. And I just couldn't. I mean, you can get hits off the D card and stuff, and I do love that short pass card wrong, but I need to be able to go deep. And now, so we'll see. And then one thing interesting about the set is there's only 10 tight ends that can go deep total. And when it was time to pick my fullback, I almost went with the New Orleans tight ends, and I wish I would have now, because they had 2 guys that can go deep, and that would have given me a little bit more. People will be able to lock up on my receivers if they call pass, and I'm going to be stuck throwing to these dud tight ends. But don't worry, I'll throw to them. So don't get comfortable double teaming my wide receivers, because I'll throw to anybody. But
I would have liked receiver. I mean, did you pick up anybody special outside of
not super special, but in the New York Jets return unit is as a guy with like a 5, I think it's like 5 deep pass. It's Dietrich Ward. Yeah. So
there you go. That's nice.
So I can always run a 3 wide receiver set to put some pressure on folks.
Yeah, that's better than the Cincy third.
Yes, it is.
With Dietrich Ward for sure. Yeah.
So that's my team. It's not as strong as I usually like to build a team, but it'll be fun.
Jacksonville halfbacks, I like that group a lot. I mean, it's of course, Carry Challenge, which was what brought you to the Green Bay fullbacks, so you could get Levens. But this card is a really nice card when you can run it 17 times plus per game. Yeah,
and then paired with Levens, I almost went Allstott because I like Allstott's flat pass card a little better. But Green Bay has William Henderson, who has a very good blocking back rating of 6'5". So I'll be able to run a blocking back set or stick him in there as the fullback in a pro set and have some pass protection if people are blitzing like crazy.
Taylor's card looks like it's not that good guessed right, but it is. It hangs. That's the thing. I mean, when you look at any of these cards, you look at this card, right, and you look at the past cards too. When you try to evaluate them, and you base it on expected yards. I mean, the biggest problem with using averages, of course, is that you're not looking at the frequency that you get the yards that you need. In other words, I mean, how much is this short gain on 7 really matter to you? If all you need is 2 yards, you'd rather those 6 chances be spread out, right? And across more dice rolls to get your 2 yards as opposed to 15. You don't need 15, you just need 2, right? So what's interesting about Taylor is you're tempted to think that. You think, well, that's nice. I like the short gain on 7, but short yardage doesn't really help me that much. Well, he actually stacks up pretty well against all the big boys in guessed right running. And he doesn't fumble. He's got the ability to go deep. I mean, he's an end-to-half threat. In this group, too, you got is it Tavian Banks who goes deep? There's not many halfbacks that go deep. There you go. So you're not going to be relying on this column, but you're going to be relying on, hopefully, a right outside linebacker who's low-rated and get something there. And then the question is, are you going to use James Stewart at all? What do you think?
Not now. I would have if I wouldn't have drafted if I would have drafted the New Orleans group, then I would have been forced to use him. But now I don't think I'm going to use him that much.
Yep.
Yeah, another nice thing I like about the Taylor card, you can run him and run right. He's only got the 1 -8 on 9. A lot of times the guy's got -5, -3, -7, a bunch of those. He's only got the -8. So it's okay to run and run right. And take those big shots at the long gain that you have at 3 and 12.
Yeah, it's going to be fun when somebody pulls up with a short yardage defense and you roll guessed right +9 on a 3. You know what I mean? Like, those are frustrating as a defensive coach.
Yeah, that's for sure. The problem with Zen Run is the right. It's not. I mean, the wrong isn't great.
The wrong isn't
between 4 and 10.
Corey Dillon had that problem too, I thought, and that's what pushed me away from Dillon and into Curtis Martin. Is that -6 guessed wrong just annoyed the shit out of me.
Right
there.
Right.
Yeah. So, I'll take a guessed right, but don't give it to me guessed wrong, please.
Speaking of frustrating halfback cards, look at Emmitt Smith's card on Dallas. I think Bob wound up with him. Like, are you kidding me? +0 guessed wrong or guessed right on 7 and 8. I was like, no thanks.
Where are you going here? Where do you go?
I know.
I couldn't believe he ranked out as good as he did in my numbers. He ranked out not bad, like middle of the pack, But you look at this card. Whoa,
but that would drive me nuts too. You get somebody guessed wrong, and you wind up in the middle of the card on an off tackle. Like, geez.
This is as close to what's his name, Atlanta Falcons halfback
Turner,
who was San Diego. Yeah, Michael Turner. Yep.
Michael Turner. Right. Yep. Remember that?
Very similar looking. Where you had these big, huge ones around the fringes, but Lawrence, are you still with us? Check back over here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Very quiet, Lawrence. Nothing to say on Dennis's team? You okay? Anything else to add?
I don't care how it's not maybe the strongest team as he has normally. He's going to be like in championship game or close to it. So
right. Yeah. I knew he wanted the Indy D. I almost called about 5 people to pick him.
You saw that too, Michael, right?
I saw that and I said, shit.
Somebody will take him. You didn't
I'm like, someone will grab him.
No way everybody would have passed on him. But it was at that point in the draft where most teams were going to wind up at average pass defense anyway at that point. So they didn't matter if they got a 18 or a 17 DB unit.
Right. So, Larry, take us through your squad, top to bottom.
Okay, so like I said, first choice I would have liked Tennessee DB if I could have got it, and then I was just going back and forth with Warner and Falk, and then even also Pittsburgh linebackers. At one time, I thought I was going to take the Pittsburgh linebackers. I took the St. Louis linebackers next because they're again good for run or pass to take the pressure off, and also I'm playing a 4-3. And so they actually work out pretty well because they have 3-5 linebackers. so it makes it not too bad. I can like just leave them at home because I have that really great New Orleans pass rush on the DL, especially with the 4.3. So I have a 0.10, a 5.7, a 5.12, and a 4.9.
Well,
So
I think
38
a lot of
pass rush
people sort of
points.
had that.
So
A
I
lot,
don't really need to
sorry,
bring the linebackers much.
yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, but I think a lot of people were sort of weighing that same thing that you weighed there. Was, do you want to be average and take a bunch of pass rush, or do you want to go for good average and lay back, or even good in some cases, and lay back with less pass rush? You chose the pass rush route with New Orleans. You had good sitting there if you wanted it, right?
Yeah, especially when. Yeah, it's just it's and I don't like playing a 4.3 normally, but with that kind of pass rush and with like solid linebackers, then it's like, it works out pretty decently. I would rather had like Minnesota linebackers that Dennis took. He had like I think 2.6s. Still, if I want to have people stay at home, it really doesn't work out too badly for me. And like I say, I'm just going to rely mostly on the line for the pass rush because it's like 38 pass rush points.
Yeah, I'm showing 36 right here in a 4.3, and
But you weren't
yes,
showing you had a 0.8 in there,
you
but
can
there's a
bring in a zero
0.10
back, right?
also.
Yep.
There's a 0.10 in there.
Which is
You have
number
a
one
you have a
already.
0.8 and a 4.9, huh?
Yeah, which is number one already for the D line. So you get two more on top of that to bring you to
Yeah.
38 number one D line and number 5 overall in pass rush.
And I like the fact that it's even strong up the middle with the 5.7, 5.12 for the run. So that's kind of not bad. Because really, it's like sometimes it's like the getting caught on the end runs, you could get some like not that great of results of depending on how it hits the columns. I feel like have better luck with off tackles and line bucks. And then the
let's talk about
disappointing
Chicago
part.
quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the disappointing part because I was going to take Detroit and it went right in front of me. And Chicago quarterback, it does work out well for like the flat pass. The flat pass is great. And because I do have and he has a quarterback fumble is not the greatest. I think it's a 2, but I have, like the best pass blocking offensive line. So that should help mitigate that. But I am a little worried about the snap fumbles or, the must run fumble. So otherwise it's decent, especially in his short pass wrong is really good. So I'm hoping again that people are going to have like decisions to make about whether to guess run with Falk or to guess pass or not.
Sure. I'm trying to bring him up here. I'm having some weird. I gotta unfreeze this. See if it frees me up. Okay. Where is Chicago? There he is. So Jim Miller, we had him ranked 9th overall. I think you got him. I mean, that's just me, and then it's just a guide, so it's not gospel by any stretch.
It's almost gospel, though. Yeah.
You got him at 8, so some value there. And yeah, his fumble, I think, hurt him pretty bad. Yeah, negative 0.27 yards per play. Because he's got 12 snap, 2 team, and a huge. If that's right, can that be right? Because all these are pulled manually. Is it 100? Did you verify that? Is it 100 guess wrong fumble?
I didn't verify that.
You did or did not?
Did not.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's what I have it listed here right now. That's what's killing him. So you mean don't sneak, whatever you do, and God forbid you have a must run. It only happens, probably 1% of the time, so you're not going to have to worry about it too much. His flat pass ranked 3rd, yeah, overall. 22nd short, 28 long. So you're looking at kind of a small ball environment.
And then hope on the going on the defense card if I throw long.
Well, you've got some good receivers for it, right? I mean, the Washington fullbacks are among the top group out there. I would say number 1, number 2, number 3, right in the mix.
And then I have the Kez Watkins on the Tampa Bay return special teams, and he's like at 50% for the long. So that was nice for like you get that for the number 3 receiver, and then the other 2 New York Giants guys are 41% long. So, and of course I really happy with getting the Indianapolis offensive line. So would have liked a little better of run, but no, I don't really have to worry about the pass rush. And then getting a Mike Sellers from Washington for fullback, and also Larry Centers, and plus a decent, kind of a under the radar, decent pass catching tight end who's also good on the flat of Steven Alexander. So that group kind of worked out well for me to kind of solidify things even more. So it'd be hard for somebody to be successful blitzing me.
All the sevens. I mean, that's the thing. Sevens are different. I mean, you have to value. You can't just take the ratings guide and just use it, because it's not even the difference between zeros and fours, and should you call them threes or not. You got to worry about that. But then you also have to worry about just the impact in the pass rush charts of a 5 versus a 7. It's disproportionate. I mean, it's a big leap.
Double.
Yeah,
Right,
and you've
double.
got 4 sevens on that line. That's a huge deal. I had Indy as the number one line overall. I mean, I value centers a lot. I take a look at where the pass rush is on the line, and then mix the values there too. When it's all said and done, Indy, KC, and Dallas stood out as the top 3. And it turned out Tennessee went in between there, probably because of values. But that, to me, was a huge pick for you. I mean, a boon. I was all over it if it would have fallen to me, because you have a pretty big drop after that. So these guys are 11, 9, and 9 above average. Then you fall to 5. I mean, it's a pretty big break point. I thought that was a huge pick. However, Larry, I don't know why you go to a flat passer after getting all those sevens. That's, to me, you could have waited on your QB, get a short pass, long pass guy, and get extract the value out of those sevens.
Well, part of it, I like to have a good flat pass when I have somebody like Marshall Faulk, who's already good flat pass, and also later on getting Larry Centers is a good flat pass. But it's still helpful if people start double teaming with the linebackers on your receivers, and so if you have that option of going flat, and I like to not be stuck there,
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I don't know who you would have turned to. I mean, is it Rich Gannon? In that group, or you could have just waited a long time and gone for a Blake, or somebody, Blake or Banks later on. This is where am I going here?
But I remember you saying that you'd have to be a real loser to grab Blake. So, just kidding, Dennis.
Short pass. Rank Gannon's 3rd short pass, 20 long.
I was chuckling, but I had myself on mute. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I agree with you about this. I mean, if Detroit would have shown up for you there, then that to me would have completely changed your team. Detroit quarterbacks that Aiden got there, I thought was the best value pick in the draft, number 1 by far, and you just missed it by 1.
Yeah, that's
completely different complexion of the team. I mean, not that Farad is a world beater. He's not, but he's just in a different class.
Yeah, he's just not as good at flat pass. So that's the one thing that Miller's a lot better at flat pass.
But he's good enough. Good enough. Thank you. And
yeah,
these damn 3 interceptions really throw it off, right? You think they're like that there's a 4 incompletion stuck in here. There's not. I mean, it's a straight line of completions, 3 through 7. It's a good card. It's a good card. Farad. Let's just while we're here, let's just do a quick comparison of Farad and who was ranked 7. Is that right? 5th versus 9. You see, it's a pretty big 0.6 yards per expected difference between the two. You've got Farad, who is 5th flat pass versus Miller's 3rd. And then he's 10 better on short. He's 12th, and then 14th versus 28th long. And in terms of fumbling, much, much better. About 120 yards a year difference based on the fumbles that you're going to lose with Miller than you would versus Farad. So Aiden really pulled one out of a hat there.
Yeah, I was very upset about it.
Any other thoughts on Lawrence's squad?
Yeah, Lawrence, you got one of the nice tight ends that can go deep in Alexander also. I know we talked about the flat, but that was a nice grab there for that also. I mean, I know you don't have a deep quarterback, but when guys that have 0 men, they can make the catches. Those X
Yep.
plays.
Love this unit. Love this unit.
Yeah.
I think they were number 2 to Buffalo for me. I think.
Yeah, I loved it too with Sellers in there. I needed a running back too, so I was looking at it with centers.
Sellers is a unicorn, to your point, Michael.
Yeah, there weren't any 6'7s hanging around there.
6'7 goes deep. 6'7 goes deep in the backfield,
Right.
not tight end, in the backfield.
Right.
So he's your best third and long guy you can possibly ask for. He's going to scare away the blitz on third and long, and then with that scared away, there's no asterisk to worry about. You can send him deep against an outside linebacker if you feel like it.
Right. He's also 22 out of 36 completions flat.
Sure.
6 or more yards too.
Yeah. See, I like that. I guess I value the flat more than you do, Tony, because I really like that flexibility. Even if you're a short distance, to at least have that as an option, that you're not just going, short pass or a run.
In what respect? To the
if you have short yardage, that you don't, you have 3rd and 2 or something, you don't necessarily have to go run, although you have to kind of key Falk to stop him. But then I also have Sellers too, so it's just going to be. I just like to have that another weapon for short yardage, and if you have a good flat pass, that gives you something.
Well, I'm praising the heck out of this pick. I mean, I love this pick. 3rd and long, 3rd and short. I mean, this team helps you every which way. 3rd and long, you get the pass block. 3rd and short, you get the run block, and you get another passing option with Sellers.
Yeah,
just a great pair. I'm down with this group all the way, and I thought that was a fantastic value where you got them. And I mean, I had no business thinking once I took Carolina wide receivers, okay, I figure I'm out of the tight end game for a long time. See you back in round 10, right? But Washington was still hanging there when it came this way, because I was 3 picks ahead of you there. And I was seriously considered taking Washington, even though I didn't need them. I know when I was going to play them, just because they were so good. And you snagged them, which was absolutely the right move. They were. I ended up taking, Detroit's returners for other reasons, but great pick. Anything else, Michael?
No, that was it.
All right, who else do we have? Anybody else in here? Should we go to me? All right, we'll go to my squad. So that again, Tyke's pick of St. Louis quarterback was really what defined the draft. At that point, you're taking 50-50 linebackers, and when you do that, it gives you the license to take offense forever, as long as you're okay with not having good. And I was fine not having good because I was going to get good run, and then my average pass D is sort of offset by the pass rush. So, the pick of Rob Johnson here, I just saw it as him and Farrat, to me, were 4 and 5 after these 3. And they sort of sat in a group by themselves. And I didn't want to be stuck with a bad quarterback. So went with Johnson. He's great on everything except 3rd and 10. So wanted to prevent 3rd and 10s. I mean, even and every level on a 3rd and 6, he's tough to deal with because he can run for it. Including he's not going to turn the ball over, which is a very different separator in this draft versus everybody else. When you added it all up, I had him, I think, 2nd overall. I wouldn't have taken him 2nd overall. Again, that's just a guide. Expected yards, he ranked 2nd. When you penalize interceptions 40 yards, this is how I penalize him. And I penalize fumbles 40 yards too. Okay, if you want to bring that down, if you don't think it's 40 yards worth of turnover, then Johnson's value would go down a little bit. I would have taken Brad Johnson, or Peyton Manning ahead of Rob Johnson. I wouldn't have taken Warner, and I realize I'm in the minority in that one, but I didn't want Warner's fumbles and interceptions. And you see Johnson and Frott being in the same group, but there's still a pretty big difference, a half-yard difference between the two. Where does it come from? Well, Johnson is your number 1 flat passer. Farad is 5. Johnson a bit better the short passer than Farad, and a little bit better than Farad in terms of long passing, but not much. And a lot of people wouldn't think that. Again, it's based on expected yards. And when you look at Farad's card, it looks better than Johnson long pass in terms of completions and getting what you want, which might be that long gain. But in terms of expected yards, Johnson, because of the must run, is actually higher. And again, it comes back to, what are you looking for, right? You're looking for chances to get the yards that you want, or you're looking for expected yards. And that's why I would move Johnson down a couple spots, but I wouldn't move him below Farad. Anyway, took Johnson here, and then no quarterbacks went for a while. Farad's weight was after Jacksonville. Actually, Jacksonville went 61, then Farad went 64, which again I think that Farad pick was just a great value after him. So coming back, I didn't expect Bettis to go. I really wanted Stephen Davis here, is who I wanted in the third round. Brian took him at the end of the second. I was afraid Joe was going to take him. Instead, he took Bettis. I wasn't considering Bettis here. To me, it was Davis. It was Dillon. It was Curtis Martin. And it was Eddie George. Those guys are the guys that I wanted at a halfback here. Wanted a lot of carries. I weighed carries a lot because there's not fullbacks that I really wanted to invite on the team. There are not a lot of good second halfbacks. And Martin's right towards the top in carries. With the difference, it sort of hinted at this before, is Martin's end run wrong doesn't hurt you. There's really no way to get hurt except on the dreaded 5, and it's just for a loss of 1. So at the end of the half, anytime, any kind of 2-minute offense, you can run the heck out of this end run wrong and not be afraid that you're going to take the same hit that you're going to take out of a Corey Dillon, who gives you that -6 on 6. Plus, he gives all the carries. Plus, he doesn't fumble. I wish he contributed a little bit more with pass block, but he gives you 2, which is just a little bit of something. And he runs at all 3 levels. He gets keyed yards. Doesn't go deep. Very few do. Has good flat pass catches, not particularly good flat pass yards. Short pass is very meh. He's a workhorse. He's a good workhorse, like the off tackle. Short gain on 7. Would I have gone Eddie George or Curtis Martin here? Very, very close. Really, very close. I think Dillon was clearly beneath him. And it was going to be George or Martin. Probably would have leaned to Eddie George. Let's take a look at him. Tyke picked up Eddie George, the pick before me, I think, here. It turned out me and Tyke had a bunch of picks where we were going to pick the same guy. And we were down to the same 2 guys. We were very much on the same wavelength here. And I think for both of us, a lot of it fell the right way. Like, I'm really glad he took Warner so I could get Pittsburgh. He's, and I wish he didn't take George, because I probably would have taken him. But as you can see, George gives you less pop. No long gain here. That's probably the major difference between the two. A little less carries, but better flat pass right yardage. That's really what I liked about Eddie George, was his flat pass right yardage in particular. Less pop, doesn't have that plus 28 on 10 or that sort of stuff that Curtis Martin has, but better receiver, better blocker. He's a 4 pass blocker, where Martin's a 2 pass blocker. I figured I was out of the Indianapolis sweepstake at this point, so I wanted that pass block. Anyway, ended up with Martin. Came back, was not expecting Carolina wide receivers to be there. Really wasn't part of the plans, but they were there. They were clearly my favorite among all wide receiver groups, number 1 overall. So grabbed them when I was surprised they fell. You get 4 wide receivers. 3 of them are just monsters deep. And the 4th guy, Ray Caruth, is pretty good too. So sort of changed the complexion of the team. Wasn't going to sort of be a grinded out flat pass run with Curtis Martin team where I needed a good tight end. All of a sudden the complexion of the team changed, where I'll be throwing flats to these guys. Well, good. I mean, please guess wrong against these guys, because there's long gains all over the flat pass wrong. Just really did not expect him to fall. Took Denver offensive line here, which has had a number of points less than Chicago, Dennis, who you took later, and sort of goes back to the reasons why we talked about before. Just in this particular set, rating this particular set offensive lineman, just looked at them differently. just seeking a high value for center run block. And as far as run block is concerned too, all I really care about is the high of one side. Can you run left or can you run right? If there's a good enough left or right side, you don't need to have everybody with good run block. You just need some. And then your counts on sevens. How many sevens could we get? I think Chicago and Denver both had sevens, two of them. The difference for me was that I was not anticipating, really the big difference was not anticipating getting a nose tackle with pass rush. Therefore, Dennis was going to have a bunch of guys were going to have nose tackle pass rush, and I could not accept a lower guy there. I wanted the 7 that came with Denver. Detroit special teams gave me a 4 cornerback plus a 3 punt return touchdown and a 2 touchdown on kick return. Sort of gave me a little bit everything that I wanted at one spot. And then I could wait all the way to the 7th round and still get good run defense, which was kind of helpful here. Somebody could have taken the Giants and taken it away. Giants was the only path for me for good run defense for like 4 rounds. But nobody took them. Not particularly spectacular in pass rush. I can understand why, but it just happened to work for the Rochester Jeffersons, so grabbed them. Pittsburgh kicker was a tough decision, but among Pittsburgh and Baltimore, really. Tyke was thinking the same. Took Pittsburgh because I didn't want the block punt of Baltimore. And then here, just loaded up on blocking with Atlanta. Just a great blocking crew. 5s and 6s and 6s and 7s everywhere. Didn't really need the receiving because of Carolina. And then Arizona sort of fit like a glove with the 4 that I picked up with Detroit to give me a little boost. And I also get a 6 left corner, which is nice, which helps with the double team selection. Long run through, but overall, I like this team again. Two teams in a row that I like, which is nice. I think they can move the ball. There's enough guys to move the ball, and where there's an average pass D, I can blitz pretty well. Any comments there?
Yeah, you had your backs. You had them ranked pretty much like I did. They were close, but yeah, that's pretty much how I had the backs ranked too. And now looking at it, I wish I probably waited on those because those backs were going to be available.
Yeah. Look, I was surprised when you took San Fran. I guess it makes sense now because you thought the fullback was included, and I knew that he wasn't. Because to me, the prize. I really like Stephen Davis. I like what the Washington group brought.
Right.
Overall, and we'll let's just go to Brian's team. How's he going to move the ball? He's got the Giants quarterbacks and he's got Stephen Davis. So is that battery going to work? Well, here's Stephen Davis. Let's start there. That's a pretty daunting off tackle. No short gain in the middle, but you got a short gain on 4, plus the 24 on 10. That's enough. So that's equivalent to a 7, right? Rolling a 4 or a 10 is how many chances? 6 chances, right? So that's the same as a 7.
Right.
The 4 and the 10. So your 7 is a short gain or a 24, so to speak, right? You're going to be annoyed when you get that +1.
Yeah, it's a 20. Basically, 19.
Do you think that +1 did that +1 keep people away, Michael, from Stephen Davis?
I don't know. Yeah, before we drafted, I looked at the running backs and I was zoomed in on Curtis Martin. I was like, this is a guy, he's not going to go in the first round for sure. Probably not the second round. I said probably could get him in the 3rd round because it's not that dynamic. But that's kind of what I thought of ahead of time if I didn't take a running back at 1. But yeah, I think those guys are pretty even when I had them ranked.
I had Davis a clear cut above C-Mark, cut above Martin, but not too far behind.
Yeah,
he can run.
Martin has a lower. I think he's got a lower fumble number.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yes, he does. How many guys though have this +24 off tackle? There's a lot that have it end run, right?
Yeah,
but not many had that. And oh, by the way, if it guessed right. 4, 3, 6, a short gain on 10. Oh, right. a +1 on +1. it's a really strong card. Now he's pairing it with the Giants quarterbacks, right? And
Right.
I mean, I don't know which one you guys had higher, but they're pretty close, I think, in most rankings. There you go. There's Graham. You know, I mean, INTs are a little bit problematic. Kerry Collins, even more problematic. So he's going with Graham.
Yeah, Stephen Davis does have the best right running card.
Yeah.
I think Taylor has more yards average, but it's because of the short game.
Yep. When
yeah.
I was stacking them up, right? I was stacking them up in terms of chances, right? I probably have it around here somewhere. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who I have in here now. This is not even saved. But I was stacking them up in terms of chances. You know, do they get 0, 1, 2? And they were all pretty close. I mean, Davis had like using this sort of chart here. I mean, Davis was the leader, but you know, the Taylors and the Martins and the others were like one chance away, generally, of getting a lot of the meaty yards that you'd want to get.
Right.
But he's got to pair it with his Giants quarterback crew, and I guess you're sort of counting on this long game guessed wrong right here, a 9. That'd be good, but he's good. He's a good flat passer, so I guess he's mostly counting on hitting a lot of this flat pass wrong column or flat pass right column. It's going to have to be a small ball team and surprise with the stretch out that that happens every now and then these pairs it with the DNA wide receivers, who you sort of need a good tight end with. I mean, I had them as one of the best pairs out there, but it dropped off pretty quickly once you got to the third. So he gets the Indianapolis tight ends.
Yeah, he's got the six run blockers with that group.
And you get a blocking back that goes deep, right? Pollard.
Yeah, Pollard.
So one of the few.
Right. Yeah, that's very nice there. 16 catches on short pass, right?
Yep. And one of the few that can go deep out of the backfield, because him and Sellers, I mean, there was not many more than that. That can take advantage of a left linebacker.
Right.
But it's not necessarily making up here for the special teams move. I don't know who he got here at New Orleans for the lack of a third wide receiver. I mean, let's take a look at Denver's third wide. I mean, because the top two are awesome. We know that. McCaffrey and Rod. After that, where are you going? I mean, that's all tight end. So you're going to 9 receptions here? Andre Cooper? Rough.
Yeah.
Billy Miller? Rough. So to the extent he sees a lot of double teams, Pollard is going to have to do some magic and make some big plays, but he's probably going to see a bunch of double teams on these two receivers.
Yeah, wow, they are really good.
Yeah, they're awesome. But who's number 3 here in this group?
Yeah, I know. My guy, I don't. Maybe he got someone in the special teams group.
Well, yeah, let's check. So
Billy
New
Miller.
Orleans special teams. New Orleans receivers were taken or not taken? Eddie Kennison? He had some good years. Let's see. Yeah, he's all right. If you got Eddie.
Yeah, he's 16. Yeah.
Yeah, he's all right. He can distract some double teams away. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have that plus 90 on too. Got to hit that a couple times.
Yeah.
Guess
and
right.
you could go 2 tight end too with Pollard and Dilger. They're both also 16.
Let's take a look at Dilger, because maybe that saves the day as well. He doesn't go deep, does he?
No.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But very nice flat pass right. Very to pair with those Giants guys. Okay, so there's an offense to piece together here, and on defense we're looking at good average. Good average. Washington offensive line ranks 10th in pass block, 20 in run block. So Not that helpful. I think it's right around average. Our average is 20.8. Yep, and they're at 20 to help with the Stephen Davis show. And then he's got that great defensive line to stop the run, going with the St. Louis DBs, which he picked up 36 overall. How did he end up? Am I missing something here? How did he end up with average pass D? With the St. Louis, because the linebackers came late, didn't they? Yeah, linebackers are last. Yep. Gotta wonder if he's might want to take back the St. Louis DB pick that early and go offense instead if you're going to end up average, right?
Right.
Could have picked up the Indio line right there, for example, or could have picked up, quarterback. I mean, to me, that's where I would have picked up Farrat. Boom, right there. Farrat, Stephen Davis. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard when you start with the DL. It's hard when you start with the DL because you're just unbalanced, right, and trying to build that defense. So you just want to pin down a second leg of the stool.
Right. The DB group. That's probably why he went with the DB group, thinking he could get the good with a late linebacker.
Right, we're good somewhere, right? Depending on what falls, right? You're going to be good one way or the other, maybe both if you're lucky. Has Joe given us a pick for linebacker yet? He has not. Probably getting out of work now, so we don't know. Do you have any idea? Do you have any guesses what he's taking, Michael?
No idea. I did want to comment on one of the groups that I was looking at as a very good group to pick and went incredibly late, and it was the Minnesota running back group. And I was very impressed that this group went as late as it did.
Greg?
The only thing is it doesn't have any yards right on the Robert Smith and Leroy Horde card, but it's got plenty of carries. And these are big hit running back. Well, Robert Smith, of course, was a big hit running back. And when I mean big hit, 16 short gain or better and run, and looks like 14 short gain or better off tackle wrong. And this group went very, very late. I don't know. You have to look at your stats, how late it went. But how late?
Round in the fifth round, and in
out
terms
of the 17,
17, they went 14th.
14th, right? This is a group I actually would have taken. I'm talking just pure value here to get that 14th overall. I mean, I'd trade that for St. Louis with that value any day.
Yep, for that value. Yep,
right. Value
pick.
I
would have taken over Dallas
I don't even know who picked them, but yeah, great pick.
The where they really make out, you're right, is in the wrong running.
Right.
And
you got to price the right running.
The right running, it's just a little bit below average, a little bit below average. So the average score here is 37, and they end up with a 33. Okay.
Yeah, so, I think Horde can get you some yards, right? But Robert Smith, you're looking at negative yards, pretty much everything. He's got one of those 2022 type 21 type cards.
Mm-hmm. Bring some run block. Flat pass a little bit lower than average. Short pass a little bit lower than average. Doesn't go deep. And holds their own and carries. Yeah, I mean at that point, that's a good value, no doubt for.
Right. Oh yeah, Greg picked them.
Yeah, for Greg on the other end, 17. So Joe, I mean, Joe's in a tough spot to have to do tricks like the Tampa Bay trick to get excellent. To me, it's just tough that it's going to come back to you.
Yeah, another thing I want to mention is what is this Joe with number one pick? This has to be the third time Joe has had the first pick.
He had last in Battle Royale this year.
Oh, did he? All right. Yeah. Well, he went first, last, first.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know if Joe really wants first. I think he'd rather be in the middle. But I know beggars, we can't be choosers.
I want to hear Joe's view. He said he was going back and forth between Bettis and Curtis Martin. I didn't have Bettis in the group, so I'd love to hear his view on it. Very much open to being wrong about it. You're not going to run wrong with him.
Yeah, he's got a linebacker off tackle only, He's got the good average guessed right. Also, not as good as Stephen Davis, but it's 2 yards.
Take a look, Pittsburgh here.
0.67 individual fumble. Line buck 2 yards or more, 52.8%. That's fourth in the set. I'm looking at the player rankings for running backs.
Yep. Just looking versus average here. I mean, versus Martin. Yeah, I mean they're about. So he's a better wrong runner. Is Bettis.
Right,
Martin's a better right runner. I don't know, where's he get this 10? Oh, you know where the 10.6 is coming from? 10.6 is coming from his second guy, and that's right. Joe talked about it with me. So it's Huntley that put him over the edge on Martin, and not just and Huntley has a huge fumble. Okay, but that's why you see Huntley's end run wrong here. Okay, which is if you're willing to roll the dice at the end of the half, you can have a ball with that. Right?
Yeah.
But he liked his passing too. He liked Huntley's pass catching.
And he got him from a kick group?
He got him from this Pittsburgh halfback group.
Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, yeah, I forgot he's on. Yeah, that's right.
So if Huntley didn't have a fumble, I think it's pretty clear Pittsburgh jumps into this group. But with Huntley's fumble, I don't know that the receptions are enough to take me over.
3.2, that's not that bad. I don't consider that to be crazy.
It's not crazy. It's not crazy. He's got a fumble.
Yeah, that's not crazy.
So Huntley's going to do some.
Yeah, that's right. That Huntley card's nice. 10 points, 10 point average.
End run wrong. Yep.
End run wrong.
Look at that.
I'll give you a nice 13 carries a game with that.
Yep.
Off tackle 9.0.
And a half with a weapon. And a half. Yeah. Okay, so we've made sense of that pick. Tennessee O-line. I didn't have them up there in the same mix as maybe others did. Just because of what I, personally value. But where are we going here? I've got too many things to look at. O-line. Yeah, they had 27 points. 4 center run block, 5 pass block. Left tackle is going to face a little more pass pressure than the right tackle this time around. Based on the pass rush rating, so a little bit of a hit there. Nonetheless, a very solid group for Joe.
Yeah.
And then we don't know what to make of the defense yet. Went Detroit wide receiver, and then Atlanta quarterback. Well, I think that's where we need to focus a little bit of attention here. Do you have any opinions on this group coming in?
No, you know what? Once I picked one, I didn't look at it. Chris Chandler was always a decent quarterback.
Yeah.
Kind of a poor man's replacement, but yeah, yes. he's not bad. A little high on the picks probably in the list.
Get that nice long pass, kind of Vinny Testaverde-esque, as you mentioned, Butch from Summer Sprint last year, right?
Yeah, Jeff George will rewrite Vinny Testaverde for sure.
But, so just to bring everybody memories back to date, there, the championship last year was won by Butch with Vinny Testaverde at quarterback and his insane interceptions.
Yeah, he threw 29 picks during the regular season, but he had an incredible run. He made the playoffs and won it all with Vinny.
We miss Butch in the league this time around.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So he's got Chandler and Bettis. I mean, Huntley's got to do some magic here for Joe.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut out soon, Tony.
Okay,
Anthony. I mean, but yeah, it looks good.
Take a look at. Thanks for joining, Michael. Take a look at Willie's squad here. Willie went with those linebackers, and he goes 3 defense all the way, gets good. So solid D. He's taking on the Tennessee quarterbacks, which look good on paper. Just got to be afraid of that fumble. I mean, I think they took a pretty big hit fumble-wise. Tennessee fumble. Let's see what we got. Let's see. So does McNair sneak ahead of O'Donnell because of that fumble? All right. Where the hell's O'Donnell? I couldn't have missed him. Where the hell's he? O'Donnell. Okay, right there. Yeah, so he sneaks ahead of him just a little bit. Very close.
Right.
Most likely because of that fumble. Let's see. 0.172 expected yards loss versus McNair's McNair's beautiful, .076. So bring McNair in at the end of the game, protect you from a fumble. He's got a 1 snap fumble and 1 guess wrong. Yeah, McNair holds onto the ball really nicely. So meanwhile, O'Donnell, who is the better passer, better flat passer, better short passer, and not a better long passer, but in 2 of the 3 columns, he's going to cough up the ball a little bit more. Not as bad as some though.
Right.
.172. He's not like Warner. Certainly not like Moon last year in summer sprint. So,
Right.
O'Donnell leading it, and our halfback is the Baltimore halfbacks. I thought this was a very good value pick down here. I like this group. You've got Priest Holmes, who's a great long pass catcher, by far the best in the set, and a good end run wrong. There's your end run wrong. I mean, it's not spectacular, but good. But this is Priest Holmes. I mean, that's very helpful.
Right.
Against certain teams, that's going to be a weapon. Rhett, on the other hand, is very meh.
Right.
You can argue that he's better than Emmitt Smith, though, if you wanted to.
Right.
Because you're getting this long gain. Right.
Yeah, I know Emma's really going to get it. I wanted to say his card is not that bad. I would run with Emmett if I had to.
It pencils out as being okay. It does.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right. the eye test,
yes,
it's horrible, but
right.
It pencils out. If you believe in the numbers, Emmett's okay. Emmett's okay.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're going to have to eat some zeros and some +5s, regardless of what they called on 7. But yeah.
One thing Willie does not bring to the table here is a lot of short gains. You're not going to get that from the Baltimore group.
Right.
And, so with that, you're not going to convert a lot of second and longs that you might want to convert, and you'll be facing third and mediums. And, can the Tennessee guys do to get done? I mean, I guess it's worth looking at the Tennessee cards real fast here. We only talked about their fumbles. There's McNair, okay, with those nice must runs, right?
Yeah,
he'll get you a third
5
short.
yards. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a third and long, but you want 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 there. And then you have O'Donnell, more your 3rd and 10 guy.
Right.
So you might see a lot of switching from Willie from one to the other.
I'm really interested to see how much run is going to be called in this league. A lot of these backs, they're not great. You almost take your chances with them.
Yep.
I mean, obviously it's only on that card half the time, but yeah, I just find it very difficult to play when you have to pass. You got to throw into pass all day.
One pick can often define who's going to win a league, and Aiden has that Farrat pick, which I think really stands out. Good defense plus Farrat, right? He's good.
Yeah,
I'm mistaken, right? Good plus Farrat is a really nice recipe. Then it's really going to come down to Ricky Waters, and can the offensive line hold up? Let's take a look at Ricky. I always liked Ricky's card. I was never opposed to Ricky's card. If I wound up with Ricky's card, I was going to be all right. It wasn't one that I was going to be upset about. But, you got some guessed right problems versus everybody else out there. Like, I mean, your best chance of getting a yard is going end run, right?
Right.
I mean, in the 6, 7, 8 area, I haven't actually done the math, but you can see here up the sweet spot, if you need a yard guessed right, it's 6, 8. Hold on one second. So, you got some right problems, but overall, good back, right? I mean,
yeah, wow, 325 carries. I didn't realize that. That's a lot of carries.
Ton of carries. And then you got the Green Bay offensive line. Took Chicago receivers ahead and lost 2 offensive lines on the way by waiting here. Would have lost 3 receiver groups, so that was his choice right there. And what did he lose? Green Bay has 18 run block, 20, so pass block heavy team. So Waters is going to have trouble in guest right situations. Going to have the worst run blocking in the league in terms of offensive line, and a problematic guest right card. But he picked up some pass block. Not sure how much he picks up in terms of blocking from San Diego's fullbacks to help out, but that's something to keep an eye on. I like Aiden's squad. We've got at least another 12 teams to cover, but I need to bail out for a bit, so we're going to come back later. Michael, if you have to too, maybe we'll come back around 10 o'clock hour and knock out the rest from there.
Okay, great.
Around, great.
I'll see you then.
All right, thanks everybody. We will come back then. Until then, we will continue in a little while.
Big opening for Tony Dorsett. Look out, he's got great speed. 99 yards and a half. Dorsett down the sideline. Stays in bounds. Can you believe that?